And when I think East Van, I think Rob Williams.
Absolutely.
The national sports editor of the Daily Hive and its Offside Sports vertical, who joins us now. How are you?
Doing great, guys. Are they? I think they're taking off the American gin off the shelves, and they're putting the S&P gin.
That's right.
On the shelves.
That's exactly it.
Right.
Thank you, BCL. Yeah. It just happened to work this way. What a launch!
Patriotic gin.
Rob, we were sitting here talking before we hit the record button, and as much as the Vancouver Canucks as a team needed that win, I think the market might have needed it as well.
Belief is back.
Yeah, explain, sir.
Yeah, I feel like fan apathy was starting to, maybe it's still seeping in, but I think it was really starting to sneak in here, where you've got people. I mean, there were people that were mad that the Canucks didn't trade Brock Besser for a second-round pick at the trade deadline. Like, what? Like, that's how far we've come here. I think that I think it's a fan base right now that's I don't know if it's a majority, but I think it's a large number that's going, oh, geez, make the playoffs for what? To go get, stomped by Winnipeg in the first round. And I think a big reason for that is they've shown no signs of hope. There's been no, they haven't had performances that really inspired the fan base. Even when they've been winning boring. And I think last night's win, second half of a back-to-back with travel, Hughes clearly playing hurt. What a courageous effort it was from him. Lankinen playing both games and playing well in the second half of the back-to-back. Elias Pettersson finally seems like he's woken up. What a gutsy win. Their first come-from-behind win in the third period. And they dominate. I mean, they dominated that third period, and that overtime, that's the best I've seen the Canucks play in overtime this season. They've been so awful.
Crazy
in overtime.
Yeah.
They held on to the puck. I thought they circled back to the neutral zone at appropriate times. You can see teams sometimes overdo it, and they almost to the detriment of their own chances. I thought they did that really smartly. Should have won the game, 2 or 3 times in OT. They end up getting the win in the shootout, which I think was really important. But now I think to me anyways, this feels like the playoff push is on for the fan base. It's going to depend on, if they come out with 2 stinkers on the weekend, that could change things a little bit. But to me, this feels like a moment that, hopefully we look back on to, okay, this is when the Canucks really started to dig in. And I think it wasn't just the Calgary game. I think against Montreal on Tuesday, I thought the Canucks were really unlucky to be down 3-0 in that game and probably deserved better in that game. And I thought they dug in there and didn't get the result. But they did get it in Calgary.
There was no hope and there was no fun, as you pointed out. Like if they were losing 4-3 and 5-4 and had the same record that they have right now, do you think it would change the fan vibes a little bit? Because not raising your hands after a goal, game after game, I think they realize that it's just not much fun here. I'm sitting here and I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I think a big thing is like, it's like I was talking to a friend of mine after the Dallas game on the weekend, and of the Canucks' recent form, I think that was really a disappointing result. And the question was like, what's the plan here? Like, what's the path? Like, is there like a path? Like, is there a path to them contending for a Stanley Cup? Right? Mm-hmm. And it was like, my response was, if Pettersson can be that number one center in the NHL, like we all thought he could be at one time, then yes, then I do think there's a path there. But if he's not, boy, oh boy, it becomes really hard to envision them getting to that level. But I think that's in the background of all of this is, okay, they're pushing for what? Just to make the playoffs and just be happy to be there, or are we building something here?
Yes, perfectly put, Rob. I tweeted last night. We talked about it earlier. we needed that as much as a reminder of what this team can be when Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson are on their game, because that is still a relatively bright future for the Vancouver Canucks. That does not require too much more reconstruction. The second line center is going to be difficult to obtain, but that is a far more desirable pathway than an Elias Pettersson trade and then taking the return from that and trying to forge a Stanley Cup contender.
I mean, it's been so frustrating watching Pettersson this season. So I get the people that are just like, just get rid of him, and of course with the no movement clause kicking in, it's obviously it's worth considering at the very least. But conversely, it might take you a decade to find another star number one center. It's not easy to find that. Have a look at the guys available in free agency. There's not much there. There's not like Mitch Marner's out there, in terms of star power. There's not a ton out there. So I don't like I said, that was, I think I said last week, why I thought I'm not so quick to get rid of Besser, because I'm like, what are you replacing? How are you finding a replacement in free agency? It's going to be difficult, and I think the best case scenario for this team is Pettersson figures it out, and at the very least, I think what we're seeing with him is more drive than we saw before. I thought that interview that interview he gave, before the Minnesota game, I thought it sounded like a different Elias Pettersson. He was saying all the right things, and now he's starting to do the right things, and that does come with a caveat. I thought through the first two periods last night, wasn't a ton there, but he is getting results. He's picked up goals. What is it? 3 goals in his last 4 games. There's more drive. There's more care there. There's a little bit more confidence there. So you can see a little bit more of an upward trajectory. And I'm of the opinion, he didn't just lose this overnight. I don't think he just lost the ability to play the way we've seen him play. We've seen it. He's 26. He's not 36. I believe he can get it back.
Blake, I'm a fan of the folktale, The Emperor's New Clothes. You're an English lit major. The author there is?
I don't know who that is. I mean, is that an Aesop fable or something? Who is that?
Hans Christian Andersen.
Hans Christian Andersen, yeah.
And of course, the emperor being had by a couple of swindlers walking around in his underwear on stage, his quote-unquote new clothes, until the little girl in the crowd goes, wait a second, the emperor isn't wearing anything. The emperor is naked. Which brings me to Rob Williams. Because when everybody was like, trade Carson Soucy, and the Canucks are like, we're going to trade Carson Soucy, Rob Williams went, well, wait a second. If you're trying to make a playoff push and actually get to the playoffs, for Carson Soucy was pretty good last year, you may regret trading Carson Soucy for a 3rd round pick. You're a clairvoyant, buddy. Take your bows, all right, and talk to me about this Canucks defense core now where Myers doesn't play, DPD gets hurt, with no Carson Soucy.
Yeah, I mean, that Myers injury, if he's out for a good length of time, I mean, think about where we were a few years ago talking about Tyler Myers. He's a really important player on this team. I thought he's had maybe a bit of an underrated season for the Canucks this year, playing top 4 minutes consistently all through the year. I mean, I think my main point with Soucy is that I thought that he'd be due for a bounce back next year, because I thought what we'd seen from him last year was so impressive that this was more of just an off year for him. And again, I keep coming back to free agency. If you're going to find someone in free agency, there's cap space available and GMs are eager to spend it. So I don't think you're going to be finding too many deals on July 1st. But yeah, now, I mean, you look at it now, okay, you run into some injury troubles. Wouldn't Carson Soucy look pretty nice to be able to slot in here? if Myers is out and DPD, and Forbert was shaking his hand, I wonder if Forbert is going to be dealing with something as well. They could be in a world of trouble here on the back end.
And Noah Juleson, of course.
Yep.
That's right.
They're missing
That's
him.
right.
So
You're too modest, Rob. You said it was going to be a mistake, and it's turned out to be one. So,
yeah,
I've got nothing left for him.
It's hard to ride it's hard to surf the roller coaster of where the Canucks were, though, heading into the trade deadline. Like, what the heck were they?
No. Management said, no step back. We want to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So then why are you trading defensemen who could be helpful for a third round
Because
pick?
if they had turned that third rounder and packaged it with something else to get forward help, then they would have been headed down the right direction.
So it's almost like a lack of organizational alignment and running out of time. It's almost like being of two minds at the deadline and not decisive enough was not the way to go, Rob. How about that?
We covered that.
I mean, I am surprised that they just picked up a draft pick and weakened their team going into the deadline. I thought any draft pick in was going out about as quick as they could get it. That's what I was expecting from them at the deadline. I still believe that this talk about wanting a first round pick for Brock Besser, like, to me that was, they were prepared to accept a first round pick for Besser because they knew they could flip it for something else. The Soucy one's weird to me because I think that was not a pending unrestricted free agent. Like, that was someone, like, could they have gotten a third round pick after the season? I don't know, maybe. I guess it depends how he would have played down the stretch, but that was a move I didn't think they necessarily needed to do, and I'm not prepared to do a victory lap just yet on it.
Okay, well, it may come back and bite you. Like, if you hear Guillaume Brisebois or Cole McWard is playing a game for the Canucks over the next little while, then you will have been validated and vindicated, Rob Williams.
Okay, goaltending division this weekend. Who's starting which games?
Is Thatcher Demko anywhere near close to returning?
No.
I don't think we can bank on that. So I think you do have to bank on Kevin Lankinen playing a ton down the stretch. But I don't think you can just play him like the remaining 17 games here. Like, I think you need to spot Shilovs into some games. Can you beat Chicago at home with Shilovs in net? I think you have to say yes, right? So I think that's a game I would start Shilovs in net for that one, and then you come back with Lankinen in the really important game against Utah on Sunday. But I think everyone's going to be holding their breath a little bit with Shilovs in net.
Indeed. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate this. Look forward to next week already. And if you want some S&P gin to drink with your juice, because I know that's how you roll in East Van, then you let us know, okay? Limited edition. We'll get you a bottle.
Thanks, guys.
While supplies last.